This is Sam with Wrestling Overtime, and this is your AEW Dynamite review, Raves and Rants for March the 4th, 2020 from Denver, Colorado. A lot of times I usually go over blow by blow and try to recap and review exactly what has happened in an episode. And man, oh man, you can find that on so many different sites. You can hear people tell you that somebody hit somebody with a forearm and all of that. And I am gonna do some of that tonight. But after this show, after thinking about it, I think we need to talk storyline. Just because WWE has not been stepping up and giving us very many storylines, and AEW has so many going on. I definitely don't care to tell you who won. You can always listen to the results show. The AEW results show tonight was, I think, 6.5 minutes. The NXT results show was 4. I mean, you can take 10 minutes and find out who won every match on both shows tonight. It's the quick and easy, nitty-gritty, down and dirty results show. I mean, you can't get much quicker than the way I do it. But as far as raves and rants, I think we need to start doing those and quit doing breakdowns of moves, because I think so many fans are not used to storylines. Or let me rephrase that, good storylines. Because AEW is bringing it back and bringing it back big. They started off the night with the biggest parts of Revolution on Saturday night. They flashed back to that. They didn't show a long flashback, but just basically anyone that didn't buy the pay-per-view, that had only read about it on the internet or through the dirt sheets or whatever, for them to actually see a lot of the big things that took place. And then we have Jon Moxley come to the ring with his belt and talk about what AEW means. And I think that's the thing that got me to say, hey, let's talk a little bit about, what happened in the ring. But I think AEW means so much more to all of us that are fans. And I include me. I am a big old mark for AEW, and I do not care to admit it. Not even a little bit. And I'm especially a big old mark for Jon Moxley. For him to stand in that ring and say, that it wasn't Jericho's belt and that it's not even his belt, but it is the fans' belt. The fans are the ones that truly have built AEW. And I thought, isn't that the truth? It was, 2 years ago in January that Triple H and Vince McMahon and Stephanie McMahon and Shane McMahon stood in an AEW ring and said that they wanted to do what the WWE Universe wanted them to do, that they wanted to listen, and they actually wanted to do what the universe wanted. Well, we all quickly found out that that was pretty much garbage. They definitely weren't going to give the fans anything that they wanted to see or anything that they didn't know that they wanted to see. And I think since Moxley was there and as Dean Ambrose, that he truly realizes what a special thing he has here in AEW. And I think that he truly means it when he says basically the fans just willed AEW into existence. Yes, it was Cody and the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Tony Khan getting together, taking their ideas, their thoughts, their dreams, and kind of putting it together, bringing different styles of wrestling. Kenny with his New Japan technique, strong style, and learning things, and then the Young Bucks learning their indies and bringing their athleticism and their flips and the tag team moves, and then Cody coming with his Mid-South NWA background, his WCW background, but also learning from Dusty Rhodes and all of his friends. And then Tony Khan with his photographic memory of all of the different battles that he has seen and watched. It all just came together for the fans. And so for Jon Moxley to really recognize that tonight and say that he was going to defend this belt with his life for the fans. And then he said, my message basically is for the whole inner circle, I dare you. Well, of course, that's been the running storyline for the last, 3 months of Moxley, the loner, the one that really just doesn't have any friends other than sometimes Darby Allin comes out to help, taking on this faction that Chris Jericho has created. These 5 men coming together to basically just beat down Jon Moxley. The whole good versus evil. The whole David versus Goliath storyline that they've kind of gotten going on, this 5 against 1. But here's the turn that AEW, the spin, if you will, that they have put on this. Jon Moxley himself is not David. He is not perfect. He doesn't pretend to be. He doesn't want to be. He's that heel that we absolutely want to love. He's Steve Austin. He has that swagger, that cockiness, that brutality, the brawling instincts that we all hate to love, or love to hate. And he is walking that fine line between he wants to be a heel, but all of us are so accepting of him being a babyface that we're pulling him back. And Jericho is the perfect foil for this. Him coming out and doing his I don't need the belt to be the Le Champion, and the crowd chanting right back at him, yes you do. He is just perfect in the character he's playing. And I thought it was so interesting that he describes Moxley perfectly. talking about how he has this reckless abandonment. He's a maverick. He's a rebel. That he has more guts than brains. Um, I just love that. But then he's got to go just a little too far. He's got to be Jericho, and he calls him a cheater and a liar. And that's a little too far even for Moxley. You can see the reaction in his face. And Jericho says, look, you led me to believe for 3 months. 3 months I was training for this guy that only had one eye. And of course we see Moxley smirking. And he says, you're nothing but a cheater and a liar, snake oil salesman, because, you had 2 good eyes. You could always see. And that's really not the actions of a champion. And all of your fans are nothing but liars. And, I can't help but laugh at the pot calling the kettle black. I love how he finally admits that, the inner circle is going to be a bunch of hitmen, and they're putting the whole AEW company basically on notice, and how they're going to start with Moxley. Well, gee, Jericho, I thought you basically had been doing that for 3 months. I love how he promises that Moxley will not walk out on his own tonight. And if he does, then Jericho will leave AEW for 60 days. Well, I have to tell you what I had to do. He said that, and I immediately hit pause on my TV and got my phone and was like, when does Fozzy leave on tour? Because I thought, he's leaving for 60 days. If Moxley walks out, surely Fozzy is going on tour. Well, I pull it up, and I have to let you guys know that Fozzy on April 16th is going to be in Savannah to start their tour. So the way I figured it's March 4th. I figured Jericho's going to wrestle at least another 2 weeks, and then I would say he's going to take at least 2 weeks to rehearse and to get their stage show down, and I would hope to rest some, because I was looking over some of the tour dates, and he's going full blast from April 16th to May 9th. May 9th, they end in Lincoln, Nebraska. And what that does is it gives him basically a week to rest, and then he's going to come back and get ready for Double or Nothing. Because Jericho's going to have a match or get involved in something for Double or Nothing, which I believe is May 23rd this year. I know Memorial Day's a little early this year. So it's like May 23rd, 24th, 25th, somewhere around there. So, I like how Fozzy is ending that up. But I'm going to go ahead and warn you guys. I went ahead and looked. Fozzy's going back out on tour July 10th. So, look for him to be gone, pretty much all of July. From July 10th, he starts in Columbus, Ohio, and then August 9th, he comes back after he plays Sturgis, and I'm assuming that's Bike Week. So, he's taken basically 2 months. He's taken from April 10th, April 16th to May 9th, and then from July 10th to August 9th. So, I don't know what they're going to do with him. I don't know whether he's going to get hurt and leave, he's going to get mad and leave, exactly what he's going to do. But we all know Jericho, so he's going to be doing something. Now, after they have this kind of confrontation, then we go into an 8-man tag. And for those of you who have listened to episodes before this one, you know I hate 8-man tags. The only thing that really kind of saved this for me is Colt Cabana getting his debut on, TV. I have followed his podcast forever. He's with SCU, and of course, they're taking on the Dark Order. I love JR trying to, I don't know, save this storyline. Because here tonight, everyone is expecting all of these debuts. We've heard Lance Archer, we've heard Brody Lee, we've heard Matt Hardy, and of course they've all been rumored to be the Exalted One. We've heard Hangman Page might be the Exalted One, and Christopher Daniels might be the Exalted One. So we've got JR almost having this conversation with himself, because the other two announcers are not really getting involved. And I love JR saying, is there even an Exalted One? That to me is just typical JR, because that's how he thinks. He has been in the WWE, and he probably is thinking, are they going to do a big, huge swerve and there's not even going to be an Exalted One? Because think about this. If this was the storyline in WWE, Vince would have already gotten bored, and there wouldn't be an Exalted One, and this storyline would probably just disappear. So JR's, kind of right. Well, then he swings and he says, well, I think there may be too much speculation about the Exalted One. And then later in the match, he says, well, what if Evil Uno has been the Exalted One the whole entire time? And I agree with JR. Maybe there's not an Exalted One. Maybe it is Evil Uno. But I know what? There has been way, way too much speculation about the Dark Order and the Exalted One. And I'm getting to the point where I don't even care. I think their masks are stupid. I haven't bought into this cult thing. I am not into, Stu Grayson or the Evil Uno or, Reynolds or any of them. So it's just been really hard for me to get into this. I got a little intrigued when I kept hearing Matt Hardy, but this doesn't fit into the broken universe, and I want to see what all Matt Hardy can come up creatively in his head with the broken universe with Tony Khan's money. And I really want to see that. So I kind of hope the Exalted One is someone else. I can't stand Brody Lee, so I hate that AEW signed him. So I don't even want it to be him. I read an article that people are saying that it could be Hangman Page. I really don't think that fits in with his cowboy gimmick. So I'm to the point where I'm like JR. There's too much speculation about this, and I don't care. Love that Colt Cabana got the win, of course, hitting the Chicago skyline for it. And then we get Dr. Britt Baker come out as the announcer for the Big Swole match. I'm not even going into this match. This match was a joke. The only thing really worth it was Britt Baker coming out and putting down Tony Schiavone, and she is such a good heel. She found her calling. She acting entitled and cocky and being condescending, she has found her character. Her being a baby face for, the last year has really sucked. It has been awful. I I knew that Brandy Rhodes had seen something in her. They made her the first women wrestler to be signed by AEW. So she had to have something. But I just never could figure out what it was. Well, she switched her character up and we found it. So she was good on the announcing part of it. She's just got to get better in the ring. Big Swole, hey, I've always thought she was good. I saw her in the Women of Wrestling Wow that Janie Buss, the Lakers president, puts on. I like her, but, the match kind of sucked. And then we get Cody. Now, I guess I have to talk about the big, huge elephant in the room. Cody. What on earth did you do putting that tattoo on your neck that big? It's ridiculous. I love that fans have set up a GoFundMe page for him to get it removed. I agree with the concept. I like that Cody said, this is my brand. I represent so many other brands that I always want to be representing my own. Cody, you should have did that a little smaller, a little classier, a little more professional. His dream tattoo that is across his pec, across his heart for his dad, I always thought was classy. This on his neck is god awful. I hope Brandy makes him get rid of it. I really do. I love that Cody come out and he basically just called out MJF, called him, a cheater, and said that he would totally accept it if MJF would come out right now and tell him that he beat him fair and square at Revolution. I was not expecting Jake the Snake Roberts. As far as I know, there were no dirt sheets calling this. As far as I know, there were no insiders. Wrestling Votes was not calling this. Brad Shepard was not calling this. Ryan Satin. There wasn't anyone saying Jake the Snake Roberts was in the building, that he had been in talks. Nothing. So for him to come out, man, it just sent chills. And of course, the first thing I look for is, does he have the snake? And of course he doesn't. I've heard on so many podcasts the snake went away, but I just wanted to make sure that they did not manufacture a snake for him to carry around, because that just would have been the ultimate. I thought that he was out. I know him and Dusty weren't friends, but I thought he was coming out as a old colleague, maybe of Dusty's, to give Cody advice when he basically tells him to quit whining. To quit whining and moaning and groaning and crying around. And I thought, hey, he's going to be out here to set Cody straight and get him back on the path. No. Jake the Snake gives a heel promo. Now, it's not the best of the week. Randy Orton's was the best of the week. Randy Orton is coming back into his own. But I'll give you credit. Jake the Snake, he cut a wonderful heel promo that people are going to be watching and seeing how he he actually did it. He talked about he has now a client that has been signed to AEW. He's bringing him over to the dark side to take AEW basically over to the dark side. And then when his client's on the inside with Cody, he's going to be there on the outside. And he tells Cody to bring his one-trick pony, Iron Anderson. And I had to laugh because I have loved seeing Iron Anderson, and I know he can still do a little, as can Jake the Snake Roberts. And I just want to see them battle with their mouths. I don't even care if they get physical. I want to see them get after each other. I think that's going to be absolutely awesome. I love when he said he doesn't want AEW's whole pie. He just wants Cody's piece. And that he is there to basically take it to Cody using his client. And I can't help but think that is absolutely hilarious. And then, of course, we had to have the Pac Chuck match with Trent and Orange Cassidy coming down. This match, I hate to say that it wasn't a good match, because I hate to say anything that's got Pac in it is not a good match. But it was kind of boring. Chuck's got to get better. I like how JR said that he needed to pick up some weight to go with his athleticism. Trent needs to stay out of it. But this match basically was to bring Pac and Orange Cassidy face to face, but also to bring the Lucha Brothers out, and for them to create the Death Triangle and say that no one is safe. I know there's been a lot of comments on, Twitter, on Facebook, on different sites, talking about how, they have the Inner Circle, now they have the Death Triangle. Yeah, I kind of like the names. I don't care. It sounds even more menacing when Pentagon and Phoenix say it in Spanish. But I really like the faction of Pac and the Lucha Brothers being the Death Triangle, because they're all have been portrayed in the indies so ruthless and so aggressive that I can't wait to see them wrestle together and see how they're going to configure them and who they're going to battle with and everything, because they're not going to be battling with the Best Friends forever. They're basically just going to destroy them. So, I love how they tie it in that Kenny Omega and Nick Jackson are not there tonight, that they have not been cleared to travel, and so they are not in Denver. I wish they would have been a little bit more in detail about why they were not cleared to travel. Was it because of Denver's altitude? Did they need to take something off in order to film something? Are they, they just need a break, or are they legit injured? I guess we'll find that out probably tomorrow. But I did like how they mentioned it before it comes into play. I like the little promo that Tully Blanchard and Sean Spears are still trying to find, the perfect partner for Sean Spears. And I like how Tully says that he did this and found Baby Doll. Well, Tully, I've got the perfect partner for Sean Spears. How about you pick up the phone and you call your daughter? How about you put Sean Spears with Tessa Blanchard? I know her contract does not run out till June, but surely Tony Khan has got enough money to buy her out of Impact. I know she's having fun over there with the championship belt, but we've got to get her into AEW and get her into some good storylines and have her save the women's division. So that's the perfect partner, is Tessa Blanchard. But they're not going to do that, and I don't know who his partner needs to be. I'm sure they'll probably sticking with Lance Archer, but at this point, not real concerned. Then we had to have Jake Hager taking on Cutie Marshall, and of course Santana and Ortiz had to be out there. And then we had Dust Dunn and Brandy Rhodes. Not real sure why Brandy was out there. I was kind of hoping that she would get into it and slap somebody or drop kick somebody or something, but she didn't. She held back, and so, that's fine and all, but I kind of wanted her to get involved a little bit. Jake Hager, applied his head arm choke for the win. That head arm choke is a UFC maneuver, and it's really cool in UFC, and it's how you win. It's also how you win in wrestling, but that maneuver just doesn't look cool. That's not a big time maneuver for a big time guy. So if they want Jake Hager to be this big monster guy, they really need to find him a little bit better finisher. I don't know what it needs to be, but it needs to be bigger than just a choke arm, take a nap submission move. Love how they started beating up on Dustin, and Cody came out in his suit to help Dustin. Of course, Santana and Ortiz had to get involved, hitting Cody with a chair, and so Matt Jackson comes out to help of the Young Bucks, because we were told earlier that Nick wasn't cleared to travel. So like I said, it was good that they mentioned it a little beforehand. And basically, Jake Hager just waylays Matt Jackson, takes care of him, and out comes Hangman Page. Not real sure why. He has seemed to have a problem with the Young Bucks, definitely with Matt Jackson. Matt Jackson also has been making comments about him drinking so much, so of course, Hangman Page has to come down with his beer and take his good old time and try to talk to him, and then puts his beer down on the ring post and proceeds to clear house, even taking out Jake Hager with the big lariat. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. Hangman Page is a big man that can take on Jake Hager, and the lariat is nothing more than, him just jumping over the ring rope and hitting somebody with a clothesline. But they gave it a cool name, and it looks cool. It looks powerful. Jake Hager needs a move like that. Then, of course, Hangman Page has to pick his beer back up and flip off Matt Jackson, basically just to make him even worse, make him, even madder. Where is this storyline going? I don't know. I can't really figure it out. I was like a lot of fans. I thought at Revolution that maybe Hangman Page would turn. And they teased it, with him picking up the chair and him looking like he might jump over the rope and do the lariat to Kenny Omega. But he didn't. And I want to think that he's going to stay true to Kenny Omega, and Kenny Omega is going to be the one to turn. I think that is the better story. I think Kenny Omega going back to the cleaner, the assassin, the I don't care. I'm going to take out anybody and everybody. I'm not going to be part of the elite. I'm not going to play buddy-buddy. I I kind of like the idea of that, of him making the turn on the Young Bucks and Cody, and that maybe even leading up to an Omega Cody battle, because I myself would like to see that. I really would. Um, what would AEW be without MJF? You know, he cut a tape promo with, of course, Warlow in the background and a bandage on his head from where he was bleeding on Saturday. I absolutely love MJF. He may only be 23 years old, but I think he's one of the best heels we've got running around now. And I love how he just flat out says, I am starting my legacy right here, right now. I wrote the final chapter in Cody's book, and now I'm starting, my book. I want to be AEW's greatest champion. Which led me to immediately think, back in the older days, which Cody is always talking about, reminiscing about, he's got Jake the Snake there. He's got Iron Anderson. He's got Dean Malenko. He's got Tully Blanchard. Tony Khan is a wrestling historian with photographic memory. Back in the original days, champions kept belts. They let Jericho I'm trying to think right off the top of my head. I think it was 189 days is what Jericho kept the belt. The record is years. I wonder if fans nowadays could basically totally turn against MJF if he got the belt and kept it for 400 or 500 days, 700 days. If he would keep the belt for 2 years, just smart talking, flipping off, telling everybody how much he's better than them for, almost 2 years. What would people do? How much would they pay to see someone knock him off? How interested would people get if you built up a character for a year and made them the golden boy and put him up against MJF after he's held the belt for a year? He's held the belt for 2 years. And maybe that golden boy's Cody. Maybe we rehab him for a year while MJF is holding the belt and no one can beat him. And then we set up this gigantic pay-per-view for Cody to beat him down. I can't imagine what that would be like. I think fans would get involved. I think they would get behind that. And so, I would, he says, he's going to remain undefeated. Well, I kind of hope he does. Of course he has to be MJF. I love how he says he's getting hot. And he takes off his jacket and he's wearing the I Pin Cody shirt. And then he has to take and compare the shirt about it being, obnoxious and over the top and all of that too much to Cody's tattoo, because it's so true. Main event. I have already said on the Results Show, if you have not seen this main event, you need to go to YouTube. You need to look it up. Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara coming out and then having Darby Allin come out and get ready, get in the ring, and then have John Moxley to come out basically showing off his belt and have 3 masked men attack him, and it turned out to be Jake Hager and Santana and Ortiz, and beat him out in the concourse with trash cans and choke him with trash cans and kick him and all of that. And then Moxley tries to make a comeback where he throws Hager into the wall, and Santana and Ortiz have to basically take over, and it's 3 versus 1. Hager again uses the choke out on him and leaves him laying, where you see a doctor kind of attend to him. And Darby being Darby, his story being that he's half dead already, so what difference does it make? Doesn't surprise anyone that he goes ahead and starts the match. And let me tell you, if Cody versus Darby, if Sammy versus Darby, if Moxley versus Darby didn't convince you that Darby Allin at 22 years old, 23 years old, is not one of the future stars of wrestling, I don't know what will. Except maybe this match. Because he holds his own in this handicap match. And let me tell you, the coffin drop that he takes from the ring post, where he takes out all 5 members of the inner circle, is just absolutely awesome. It will be a gift tomorrow. Everybody's going to be having video of that up, because that was just absolutely unbelievable. And then he hits another coffin drop later in the match to Sammy. But the thing that I'm afraid people are going to want to show is Darby Allin doing a suicide dive out to the outside of Jericho, and Jericho actually times it perfectly, hits him with the Judas effect, and knocks him out. Has to basically pick him up and roll him back in the ring for Sammy to pin him. And they showed that on replay, and it does look awesome. But let me tell you, that coffin drop taking out all 5 members of the inner circle was just unreal. But then, of course, you have to have Moxley come back out, and he clears the ring. They get out of there until Hager hits him from behind. Moxley can't keep them all in sight, and Hager basically just hits him from behind. They chase him up the ramp, and then again, Hager does the chokeout move, and it's just not that cool. It doesn't seem that big, bad, and awesome. Now, of course, Santana and Ortiz have the thing where they want to put you through the stage, so they get him up in position, and it's almost like Moxley tells Hager, hey, powerbomb me, because I don't know that Hager was actually going to get involved with it, but he does, and he powerbombs Moxley through the table, and then all 5 members of the inner circle flip him off. And that is how the show ended. And that was basically worth it. It was worth waiting for. Darby Allin made it worth it, but also that in move of them powerbombing him through the table and then flipping him off was so inner circle. And that's the reason why I wanted to talk tonight more, to rant and rave, is I am so impressed that AEW is creating characters that aren't just one-dimensional. that they have a lot of different layers to them and a lot of different sides, and depending on who they interact with, their dimensions change. And like I said, with Moxley, he's kind of a heel, but yet we love him to death. And there's a lot of characters in this company that are both you love to hate. And it's kind of like me with MJF and Sammy Guevara. I love to hate them. I love that they're so cocky and they're so young and athletic, and that they can do so many different things. As they were going off the air, they started talking. Next week we're going to have Ortiz versus Cody. We're going to see the Death Triangle in action, but they don't have an opponent yet. And we're going to find out what the rules for the Blood and Guts are going to be. It's supposed to be a lot like War Games, but not. So I don't really know what that means, but we're actually going to find out what the War Games, what the Blood and Guts, the rules are actually going to be. And then they're going to have the Jurassic Express take on the Butcher, the Blade, and MJF. And I think this is stupid. I'm sorry. I know I shouldn't go ahead and say that without saying it. But I think the Butcher, the Blade, and the Bunny need to go away. They need to go over to Ring of Honor. They're not AEW material. I don't want to see them. MJF against Jungle Boy, MJF against Luchasaurus with Wardlow in his corner. Yeah, I want to see. I want to see Wardlow and Luchasaurus get into it. I want to see Jungle Boy's athleticism against MJF's power. I want to see that. I have no desire to see the Butcher and the Blade. None whatsoever. So kind of, I don't know, half-hearted looking forward to next week. I hope that you liked this kind of different way of ranting and raving and reviewing AEW that I did. May try it again with WWE SmackDown, because I feel like talking more than just kind of breaking down moves. And so you're going to be probably hearing a lot more ranting on Friday, considering that SmackDown's storylines have just been traumatic. I mean, oh. But anyway, it's supposed to be the go-home show before Elimination Chamber, so let's hope we get something good out of it. But anyway, if you want to contact me, make sure you hit me up on Wrestling Overtime on our Facebook page or our Twitter page, or write me at wrestlingovertime@gmail.com and just tell me what you're thinking. Argue with me. Tell me I'm right. I love when people tell me I'm right. So if you've got any questions, comments, problems, or protests, hit me up. Otherwise, I will be seeing you tomorrow with the news of the day. And hopefully we've got some great breaking news about what's happening at Elimination Chamber. But anyway, I will talk to you guys soon.